As TV fans, especially TV fans in 2019, we can get fully immersed in a show until the bitter end. Be it Sons of Anarchy, Lost, or Ally McBeal. I'm literally just naming some of my favourite shows. However, some shows leave fans bitterly disappointed with underwhelming endings that made little sense. So today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 10 worst TV show endings you will be glad you missed. Let's jump in. Coming in at 10, Gossip Girl. Oh, Gossip Girl. It was hot trash that we couldn't help but love. Managed to run for 6 seasons between 2007 and 2012 and followed teenagers in the Upper East Side who were plagued by the secretive Gossip Girl. Now, the show arguably went on for way too long and was riveting enough when the characters were in high school, but it managed to lose its charm in later seasons once the gang moved on to college. By the final season, Gossip Girl was revolving around Serena dating an older man and Chuck and Blair's crumbling relationship. However, it was the reveal of Gossip Girl which fans were most excited for, and when it happened, it made zero sense. Zero. Turned out that Gossip Girl was Dan Humphries, played by Penn Badgley. Honestly, he would have had to be a superhero or a magician in order to make this twist plausible. Huffington Post Laura Prudhomme said, I quote, "If you were looking for depth, morals, or solid characterization, the Gossip Girl finale didn't prove them. But then again, the show never has, so let's simply be grateful that we can say XOXO to the series for the last time, and never speak of it again unless you can catch the season 1 reruns in syndication." Wow, Laura. Straight savagery. In at 9, Smallville. Now, I'm sure a lot of you will be upset that I've included this on our list, but I've done it, and I'm proud. I didn't like Smallville. Fight me. Smallville, of course, follows Clark Kent before he becomes known as Superman. The show ran for 10 seasons between 2001 and 2011, and was a smash hit amongst teens and comic fans alike. Now, of course, the show took place pre-Superman and showed his progression to becoming the hero we know and love. But one of the biggest complaints the finale had was never seeing Clark Kent in his full Superman costume. Something fans were so desperate to see, however, it didn't quite happen. Well, not fans expected it to. Instead, the shot we got was Clark ripping open his shirt, revealing the iconic S. But that's it. Fans were of course very upset, leaving some happy that the show had come to an end. Savage. Coming in at 8, Pretty Little Liars. Now, I won't lie, for a period of time I was obsessed with Pretty Little Liars. That was until they continued to drag out a plot point that could have ended in season 1. The show followed the lives of 4 high school girls whose clique falls apart after their friend disappears. 1 year later, however, the estranged friends reunite as they begin receiving messages from an unknown person called A, who threatens to expose all of their dark secrets, because apparently these high schoolers are up to God knows what, even dating their teachers apparently. Scandalous. The show ran for 7 long and painful seasons between 2010 and 2017. Many speculated who A could be throughout the run of the show. However, in the finale it was revealed to be Spencer's surprise twin sister Alex Drake, who happened to have an English accent. Of course, all the evil ones do. This reveal created a lot of plot holes with the twist that made absolutely no sense. But hey, at least the show brought us Shay Mitchell, and that's all I care about. Queer icon. In at 7, Roseanne. Roseanne was a sitcom starring the incredibly controversial Roseanne Barr and revolves around the fictional Connor family. The show lasted for 10 seasons, airing between 1988 to 1997, and then March 2018 to May 2018. Now, the final episode we're talking about here is the original run, which ended in 97, with the last episode of the iconic show destroying everything that made it such a great series about a blue-collar family. The finale revealed the death of John Goodman's character, who had suffered a heart attack, meaning that the entirety of season 9 never actually happened, and instead Roseanne had been presenting a fictional version of her life. In the real world, everything was different, even couples and character sexualities. The finale was such a disaster that when the show was revived in 2018, they basically ignored that entire plot for the best. In at 6, The Sopranos. The Sopranos was a crime drama that ran for 6 seasons between 1999 and 2007, the story revolving around Tony Soprano, played by James Gandolfini, a New Jersey-based mobster portraying the difficulties that he faces as he tries to balance family life with his role as the leader of a criminal organization. Now, the show was a success from the get-go, leading fans to believe that they would get just as an amazing ending. However, that was not the case. Many fans were debating whether we would see Tony die, if we would see him get arrested, but instead we got nothing, and I mean quite literally nothing. nothing. The show ends forever with Tony sat at a family dinner, looking up at a door opening, and then the show cuts violently to black. And that's it. That's how it ends. Forever. Most thought it was an error, but no, this was the real ending, leading fans to come up with their own conclusion as to what happened to one of the greatest characters ever seen on TV. In at 5, How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother was a 9-season-long sitcom which ran from 2005 to 2014 and followed the main character Ted Mosby and his group of friends in New York City. The show was framed by Ted in the year 2030, who recounts to his son and daughter the events that led him to meeting their mother. Now, unlike our other numbers, this was a show that folks adored to the end. Even the finale, it was just one aspect that upset fans: the reveal of the mother. However, what went down was Ted meeting the mother, only to have her die in a last-minute montage. And then, after their whole back and forth, Ted and his love interest throughout the show, Robin, just get back together, as though the previous seasons didn't matter at all. Coming in at 4, 2.5 Men. 2.5 Men was a sitcom originally starring Charlie Sheen and Jon Cryer, and ran for 12 long and painful seasons between 2003 and 2015. Followed a hedonistic jingle writer, Charlie, his uptight brother Alan, and Alan's son Jake. The series had been limping along for years, even before the final series arrived. Now, this was in part due to the departure of Charlie Sheen several seasons before, and by the end the show was a shell of its former self, waiting to be put out of its misery. Now, the final episode was absolutely absurd, with creator Chuck Lorre deciding to go balls to the wall meta, with him breaking the fourth wall and expecting us all to be okay with it. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the final episode, which I'm sure you haven't because it's The final scene saw Charlie return to his house, only for him to die by a falling piano, and then the camera pans out to see Laurie in a director's chair saying, "Winning!" the bizarre catchphrase coined by Charlie Sheen before the piano drops on him too. That's not a joke. That was an episode of a show. In at number 3, True Blood. True Blood was a horror fantasy show which ran for 7 seasons between 2008 and 2014. The series revolves around Suki Stackhouse, played by Anna Paquin, a telepathic waitress living in Louisiana. The show is set 2 years after the invention of a synthetic blood product branded True Blood that allows vampires to come out of the coffin and let their presence be known to mankind, in turn chronicling their struggle for equal rights and assimilation. The early years of the show were wonderful, full to the brim with sex, blood and sass, all the best things. However, during its final season it hit an abrupt decline, losing the appeal it once had. There were meaningless new characters and a lackluster storyline. Not only that, but the main love interest dies and the show jumps forward, showing Suki happy with a character that we have never met before. The UK Telegraph described it as, I quote, "a betrayal of everything that originally made the series so much fun. At its very end, True Blood had lost its fangs." Savage. In at 2, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is perhaps one of the most successful TV shows of all time, running for 8 seasons between 2011 and 2019. For anyone living under a rock, the show is of course set in Westeros and follows the battle for the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, of course, after 8 seasons of build-up, fans were desperate to find out who would finally sit on the Iron Throne and if the land of the living would defeat the land of the dead. However, when the time finally came, many were left disappointed with not just the final episode, but the final season as a whole, which felt incredibly rushed. Character development was abandoned and story arcs were aggressively rushed, with popular characters not even given the due they deserved. Daenerys deserved better, as did Cersei and Jaime Lannister. Daenerys' journey to becoming the Mad Queen happened far too abruptly, making it utterly unbelievable, even in a fictional world filled with dragons. And to top it off, no one expected a happy ending, especially for a show that relied on the unexpected. However, we did expect more than a banished Jon Snow and a default king. A king that no one gave a crap about. Yeah, that's right, Bran Stark. Who the f*** are you? Saying that, at least Sansa became Queen of the North, and really, that's all I care about. My queen. And finally, coming in at number 1. Dexter. Dexter was a crime drama which ran for 8 seasons between October 2006 and September 2013. The show was set in Miami and centers on Dexter Morgan, a forensic technician specializing in blood splatter pattern analysis for the Miami PD. However, Dexter also leads a secret parallel life as a vigilante serial killer, hunting down murderers who have slipped through the cracks of the justice system. As you would expect, viewers became obsessed with the title character, beautifully played by Michael C. Hall, a character that you couldn't help but sympathize and fall in love with. For a while, each season seemed to be better than the last. However, when it came to season 4, Dexter began to show signs of peaking. Of course, loyal fans stuck with the show even through its lackluster times, in hopes of some kind of satisfying ending. However, that never happened, with the ending of the show feeling incredibly rushed and angered longtime fans. Spoilers ahead for those who haven't seen the finale. Dexter gives his sister a burial at sea, and then goes on to become a lumberjack in the Pacific Northwest. Most fans would have preferred for the killer to be caught or had died along the way, but instead he was given an incredibly bleak ending that even Michael C. Hall was upset about. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any terrible TV show endings that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another Beyond the Screen vid. And until next time, see you later.